I would say that if you're a citizen of the United States, you should be focusing on the question of how can we reduce the population in the United States? That's part of creating a sustainable society. I know we don't talk about it in that way, but it is. And similarly, if you live in France or India or China, your focus should really be on that, and the government should make immigration policy accordingly. Again, our thinking about these things tends to be dominated by economics, and so they're worried that we won't be able to grow as fast as we otherwise would if our populations continued growing. I think it's well past time to instead be asking, um, what are the implications of growing or shrinking populations in terms of preserving basic ecosystem services? To be a little provocative, I would say the U.S. Chamber of Commerce loves the fact that you and me and all the other bleeding heart liberals out there are going to bring those questions up because they want high levels of immigration so they can have their American workforce over a barrel. Um, so you need to keep that in mind when you're asking these questions. Your first part there had to do with the Trump administration's heavy-handed enforcement tactics that we're seeing now. There's a lot to object to in that. On the other hand, it does sort of force us as Americans to ask, are we going to enforce our immigration laws or not? Uh, there's no way you can do that without saying to some good people, you know, you're a good person, you're not, we're not going to say hateful things about you, but if you're in the country illegally, you're going to get deported. I don't think it's easy after decades of basically failing to do that to try to turn it around. And so, you know, your question is very difficult to answer in a practical way. But I agree with you that a lot of what the Trump administration is doing is not the right way to go about it. Your second part of your question is also a great one because it brings up the point. The people who are coming to this country, they're not coming here for a handout primarily. They're not coming here to do harm to the people who are here already. As you say, they're here to improve their lives and the lives of their families. And you specifically said, don't they have a right to do that? If what you're asking is, do people have a right to immigrate wherever they want in order to live a better life? I think the answer has to be no. Um, but we could debate that. And I would just add one last point to this. You want to, for people to have rights to improve their lives and to live good lives. And that includes all kinds of things like sufficient food and water and a decent environment. Um, what we've done is we've created a system where we're taking ever more, and we want to give people more of the good things in life. We want that for ourselves, our fellow citizens, people around the world. And we're starting to see ecosystems breaking down because we're taking too much. So the answer is for us to take less. And some of that might involve, you know, of course, we want everybody to have a right to have as many kids as they want, for instance. Can that really work in a world where we're in ecological overshoot? Probably not. In the United States, we have around 343, 344 million people. If we combine that with net immigration rates of about 1 million annually, which would be a little lower than the current numbers, then we basically stabilize our population, and in 2100, we're looking at 370 million. Okay? If we instead increase that to 2 million annual net migration, that was about the average under the Biden administration. We're looking instead at a population of 493 million people in 2100. Now, I know that's what the economists would prefer. I don't think that's what is anything close to sustainable. So that gives you a little bit of a sense of how immigration numbers can influence population numbers in the United States going forward. Several years ago, I published some population projections for the U.S. where I was looking specifically at that, and as the first speaker said, it was very interesting to see how different immigrant groups coming to the United States, making that shift, changed their fertility decisions. In most cases, and overall, moving from one country, a sender country, to the United States led to fewer children per woman. But there were a number of countries, including our most important sender country, Mexico, where Mexican women who came to the United States actually had higher fertility rates. So that was very interesting. I honestly, I don't have good current numbers for that.